Chapter 3, Anxiety with Tic Tacs. I don't know about any of you, but when I'm nervous about something, I tend to think about it all day, unless I come up with a complicated mental trick to distract me. And even then, I'm still actually thinking about the thing by not thinking about it, if that makes any sense. It's like if someone comes up to you and said, all right, whatever you do, don't think about the color red. You try to picture a different color, repeat a repetitive recipe over and over in your head, and count to 159, but somewhere in the back of your mind, you'd be going yellow, orange, red, go! 3 eggs separated, 5 slices American cheese, red, dang, oh, 170, 180. Look at Renee's red lipstick, arg! And that's how my October 7th went. I worked mightily to think about anything other than Jeffrey's gushing nose, but the distractions were truly pointless. After I figured out my breath was going to present a challenge, I looked into my pocket of my Trapper Keeper for a box of Tic Tacs and found that it was about 3/4 full. I quickly popped in a Tic Tac, orange, which I'm not even sure helps your breath anyway, and ran off to first period, Miss Palma's class. I did the usual take out your notebook stuff and then became lost in my own little don't think about Jeffrey world. I used a trick that's been powerful for me. I came up with a really complex math problem to solve in my head. A boy has a box of 40 Tic Tacs. The box is 3/4 full. The Tic Tacs need to last through an entire school day and a bus ride home. The school day has 7 period. Each period is 45 minutes long, with 3 minutes for passing between classes. Additionally, there is a 22-minute lunch period and a 4-minute afternoon homeroom. The bus ride takes 15 minutes. The wait for the bus, boarding, actual time in transit. If a boy wants to make his Tic Tacs last until he arrives at home, how many minutes must he wait between Tic Tacs? So, while everyone else was writing whatever the day's journal was supposed to be, I was agonizing over the details of this math problem. Okay, so how many 3-minute passing times? 7, not to count the one before lunch, so 8. 8 times 3 is 24, plus time in class, which is 42 minutes times 7. Okay, that's 308 minutes right there. And lunch is another 22 minutes, plus a bus, like 15 minutes. Wait, do I have to eat a Tic Tac during class? Who cares about my breath when I'm alone at my desk? But there is group work in some. Steven, would you read your journey entry aloud? No, thank you, Miss Palma. Steven, I phrased that as a question, but it really was a command. Yes, but mine is private. Private, Steven? Yes, Miss Palma. Private, Steven? Again, with the capital letters. Yes, private. Through the haze of my math and memory, I gradually noticed that the class was cracking up. Steven, I respect privacy as much as the next teacher, but how private can your thoughts on this question be? Well, as it turns out, the topic was, should foreign language be taught in middle school? Things like that happened all day. After math, as I popped my 7th Tic Tac, Renee Albert said to me, Steven, you are so out of it today. Are you suffering from some kind of traumatic head injury or something? Well, sort of. Are you sort of recovering, or was it sort of an injury? Both. My brother fell off the stool this morning and, oh, sorry, Steven, I have to go talk to Jenna and Steph. Wait up! While Renee was attractively speed walking away, Annette suddenly appeared next to me. It wasn't the first time I noticed this, how Renee kind of swished around in a cloud of perfume and Annette just popped up like some spastic hand puppet. Steven, I heard about Jeffy. What happened? Annette sometimes watches Jeffrey on the weekends. He fell, and yeah, I heard you telling the princess that part. While his head hit the counter in the kitchen, his nose was bleeding. A lot. Yeah, my mom went charging out with him. They went to the emergency room, and now I'm going to get in trouble. But I didn't even is he okay? Was he scared? I don't know. And the bell rang, which meant I'd be late to social studies, and Annette would be late to science. Annette ran down the empty hall, I suddenly hit me that I hadn't even thought about how Jeffrey was feeling. And I didn't really want to think too hard about it because I knew he'd be terrified. Plus, now I'm gonna need to, now I need to go get a late pass, which probably meant I'm gonna get detention. So Jeffrey was getting me in trouble again, as usual. The high point of the day was my drum lesson. We have this thing called opportunity period, or OP. It's the last period of the day, and if you don't owe work in any of your classes and need tutoring or have detention, you get to do fun stuff. Most kids just go to the gym during OP. The track and weight room and the pool are all open. You can play basketball or volleyball too, but some go to art or choir. And of course, every chance I get, I go to the band room. A few times a week, I used to get individual lessons on the drum set with the band teacher, Mr. Wetras, during OP. During this particular day, Mr. W got called to the office for something. So I had about 15 minutes to just play drums with nobody else around. I started out with some simple beats. When my hands and feet started to loosen up, I switched over to this really complicated Latin rhythm I'd been working on. It took a bit of concentration to keep all four limbs moving independently from each other, which was perfect. I wasn't thinking about Jeffrey's fall or late pass or even Renee Albert. I was just playing. After keeping the beat going for 5 minutes or so, I burst into this big solo. I always think of it this way. Here comes Steven, bursting into a big solo. Watch those hands, they're too quick to follow. Holy cow, this kid is a magician. Like there were Monday Night Football commentators standing over my left shoulder. Anyway, I was really flying. I started with both hands doing this kind of shuffled march and the snare drum pretty quietly. As I gradually got louder, I started flicking little quick shots in the high tom. Then I threw in some big bombs with a bass drum foot. Soon, I had an incredibly fast paradiddle going between my left hand and my right foot, where the left foot was keeping time on the hi-hat cymbals and my right hand was going back and forth between the ride cymbal and the floor tom. The door opened and I opened my eyes and looked up. I never open my eyes when I'm practicing by myself. My private teacher always used to say that if you don't know where the drums are, you're probably playing the wrong instrument. Mr. W was back. Behind him, I saw a few kids I didn't know, probably sixth graders on their way somewhere, looking in. They started clapping when I looked their way, which was pretty cool. I hadn't been showing off on purpose, but I can't say I minded the applause. I stood up and took a quick bow for them. Mr. W smiled and complimented me on my showmanship. Yeah, that's yet another cool thing about music. If you show off in sports, you're a hot dog. If you show off in class, you're a brainiac. But if you show off in drumming, people love it. Mr. W told me that my Latin rhythm was sounding a little stiff and put on a CD for me to listen to. This was an old jazz album by Dizzy Gillespie. It should help you out. It's a cat named Dizzy. Yes, he said cat. Music teachers have their own lingo. Dizzy Gillespie, the trumpet player, right? My grandfather once told me about him. Yeah, this is called Cuba Beat, Cuba Bop. When the tune came on, I couldn't believe it. There were probably about 5 drummers on the track, and they were all going crazy. The conga drum player was especially wild, playing insane bass fill-ins all over the place. At the time, the trumpets were blasting like a herd of elephants, and Dizzy's horn flying high above everything else. Then, just as it seemed it couldn't possibly be any way to get more energy into the music, everyone stopped playing except the conga guy, and the man's voice started chanting in what sounded like Spanish. The chant got faster and faster. The congas got louder and louder. The whole chorus of men came in, shouting Cuba Beat, Cuba Bop, over and over again. The horns all roared, last explosion of back to life. Then one last explosion, the conga player, the song was over. Could you feel that, Pez? Mr. W, the conductor of the All-City High School Jazz Band, which is how I got in, he knew that the nickname Peasant bugged me. So one day he started calling me Pez for short, which is much better. Could I feel it? Oh my God, that was the coolest thing I've ever heard in my life. Good. You have about 7 months to get the conga part down. What do you mean? I've decided that the spring concert is going to be in all Latin music, and the song is going to be our finale. Would you like to play conga on it? Of course, I was dying to play that part, but Mr. W is one of those rare teachers who can actually take a joke. Oh, I don't know, Mr. W. I was really hoping to play the cowbell on it, or maybe, I don't know, the triangle. Get out of here, kid. You're going to miss your bus. I triumphantly popped my second last Tic Tac into my mouth and strolled out of the room whistling Cuba B, Cuba Bop. My temporary good cheer lasted until I got to the bus. Renee Albert caught my eye. Well, okay, she always catches my eye, and spoke. How's the brain injury? Which brought me back to reality really, really fast. I kept going toward the back of the bus without saying anything to Renee and sat down next to Annette. I had planned to tell her about Cuba B, Cuba Bop, but my mind was back on Jeffy. I heard that, Stephen. It's really cool that you were confident enough to ignore her. Ignore her? I didn't ignore her. I was just too stupid to think of a comeback. And now I have to go home and find out what happened to my brother and how long I'll be grounded for making breakfast. What? Long story. When Jeffrey fell this morning, I was making him oatmeal. I had him up on the stool, and my mom thinks he shouldn't be there unless someone's like an inch or a half away. So if he needs stitches or something, right, even though I was being nice for making him what he wanted while the rents were sleeping, going to get blamed. Well, your mom was right in a way. What do you mean? He did fall, right? So he wasn't safe on the stool. Thanks, Annette. Thanks a lot. That's exactly what I need to hear right now. You're a very inspiring person. You know that? I was trying to what? Show me the light so I can be saved from being such a horrible brother. So little angel Jeffrey can be saved from my evil cooking schemes. I didn't mean to make you feel bad. Well, you did it. Been worrying about that all stupid day. By this point, we were pulling up to my stop. I got to storm off the bus, but I had to wait. Renee got her stuff there in the middle of the aisle. Plus, Renee took her time walking off the bus, too. So I had to plow along behind her. And it's kind of hard to storm and shuffle at the same time, let me tell you. When I got off the bus, I watched Renee glide away. Then I looked up at Annette as the bus started to move. Maybe it was a slanted sun glaring on the window, but I almost looked like she was crying. Great. I let myself into the house and found my mother standing in the foyer, like she'd been waiting for me. When I might be in trouble, I usually try to speak first before the rents start in on me, so I plunged right in. Mom, I've been worried all day. Is Jeffrey okay? She said in a strange, soft voice, Stephen, your brother is really sick. Did I? Was it because the fall this morning had nothing to do with it? Whew, I'm off the hook. But he's really sick. And that's the absolute worst thing about October 7th. The one moment I'll never forgive myself for. When my mother began to tell me my baby brother had leukemia, my first feeling was relief.